It's October. Let's look at some more 90s horror movies. Here's 5 more horror movies from the 90s you probably overlooked. Return of the Living Dead 3. While most genre fans are aware of 1 and 2, 3 is sadly the black sheep of the series. Understandable to a degree, it's a much different zombie film than the previous 2. Although it's something that truly stands out and, in my humble opinion, is way better than Part 2. Return of the Living Dead 3 is a 1993 horror comedy from director Brian Yuzna. If you're familiar with Yuzna's Society, you know a good deal of what to expect. Disgustingly inventive gore. Return of the Living Dead 3 takes place roughly 5 years after 2. A young, death-obsessed couple sneak onto a military base where the boy's father works. They see a corpse become reanimated and escape from containment. The duo take off, and in a tragic accident, the girl is killed. Overcome with grief, the son sneaks back into the facility using his father's keycard and brings his girlfriend back to life. She comes back, not a total zombie, but not exactly normal. Kurt's father is after the duo, and they escape into the sewers where they encounter all sorts of deviants for Julie to dismember. This movie rocks! It moves at a very fast pace and has some amazing gore, about a minute of which they had to cut to get an R rating. Julie, played by Melinda Clarke, is the best. As the film progresses, her character needs to cause herself pain in order to stay human. As time goes on, the pain needs to be more intense, which leads to her self-mutilating into what you see on the cover. She does discover that consuming brains also helps, but it's disgusting, and she tries to avoid that for as much as possible. While the premise of the film is somewhat silly, her performance really sells it. Yuzna's movies always have a healthy dose of humor, and this is no exception. It's a very fast-paced film, it's loaded with some wonderful visual effects, and an occasionally hilarious, darkly comedic love story. Stir of Echoes. Stir of Echoes is a 1999 horror film from director David Cope. It's about Tom, played by Kevin Bacon, a guy who starts having horrible visions after being hypnotized one night. He feels like his visions are trying to tell him something, and he works to try to solve the mystery before he loses his mind. The movie was based on the novel A Stir of Echoes by Richard Matheson. The director bought the rights to the novel in the mid-90s and wasn't able to get it off the ground until 1998. The movie had 2 major problems. The first was that it came out about a month after the similar film The Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense was released on August 6th, 1999, while this was released September 10th, 1999. The other thing was, someone in marketing tried to piggyback The Sixth Sense by including this in the trailer.
Does it hurt to be dead?
Trying to see if they could get the line to be their "I see dead people." This gave the audience the wrong idea about the movie. They thought it was about another clairvoyant kid, when really, it was the father who had the gift. It also played out quite differently from The Sixth Sense. Sadly, many people simply called this a ripoff, not knowing that it's based on a novel that predates The Sixth Sense by over 40 years. I'm not bashing The Sixth Sense, I love that movie. I just feel bad that it stole so much of Stir of Echoes' thunder. Kevin Bacon delivers one of his all-time best performances here. He really nails his fake Chicago accent and makes you very sympathetic towards his character and family. The directing is great, and the pacing is perfectly laid out in a way that feeds you just enough in the mystery to keep you hooked until the final reveal. This isn't one of those movies where you figure it out before they do. Quite the opposite. You know something is going on, but don't know exactly what it is until the character does. I also liked how the family wasn't instantly dismissive. Tom's wife is as supportive as she possibly can be, and isn't the usual, "my husband lost his mind, so I'm going to abandon him" character. Seriously, if you've been avoiding this because you thought it was a Sixth Sense knockoff, you need to remedy that. This movie is a terrific horror mystery. One more thing is this is another great time capsule of the 90s. The clothes, the music, the vibe, seeing it again in 2023 took me right back to that time. Although it instantly made me feel old because then I realized that the little kid Jake in the movie is now 30. There's Nothing Out There. There's Nothing Out There is a 1990 sci-fi horror comedy from director Rolf Kanefsky. This movie deserves so much more attention. It's about a group of friends that go camping in a cabin in the woods but are attacked by this giant carnivorous alien monster. Mike is the movie nerd, who constantly points out all the various film cliches before they happen and then as they happen. The vapid, self-absorbed characters step up and recognize the horror fan as the one they need to listen to if they want to live. It's a glorious satire on horror films, and dare I say it, the first meta horror film.
So you're saying we're in a movie?
It predates Scream by about 5 years. The movie points out all these silly things from horror films, but does it in a loving way. It never feels mean, and it gives the audience exactly what they expect, but then turns things on its head. Many of the jokes you will not see coming. The movie has the obligatory sex scenes and other elements from your average horror films that sets up everything for later. Kinda like Cabin in the Woods, where you think you're getting one movie, and then it pivots to something completely unexpected. Beyond that, it's really funny. It's one of those rare movies that manages to be both simultaneously dumb and smart, which I mean as a huge compliment. The beginning makes you think this is another run-of-the-mill low-budget monster movie, but then it takes a serious detour that'll have you cheering by the end. The movie's getting a 2K release this Halloween. This is not a sponsored thing. I've just been a fan of this movie since I was younger and really want more people to check it out. I've actually been meaning to cover it in depth for a while, and it looks like that'll be happening sooner rather than later. Be on the lookout for Exploring There's Nothing Out There, hopefully before the end of the year. If you're a horror fan, you won't want to miss this one. The Night Flyer. The Night Flyer is a 1997 horror film from director Mark Pavia. It's based on the 1988 short story from Stephen King. The movie's about a tabloid reporter who's chasing a story about a serial killer who's going from small airport to small airport to commit mass murder. As the reporter gets closer to the story, he discovers the killer may in fact be a vampire. The movie succeeds largely because of the lead, Miguel Ferrer. He is acting his ass off in this. The character of Richard Dees is a horrible person, but Ferrer plays him in such a way that you like him, despite the fact that he is just despicable. The short story was only about 40 pages, so the director worked with the co-writer, Jack O'Donnell, to flesh it out into a full feature-length script, while still staying as close to the original story as possible. They were able to expand on some of the themes of the story, but never strayed too far from the source. This was a very small film, with only a few cast members and a budget of around $1 million. The movie feels concentrated, but not cheap. Critics, of course, bashed the film, but even they couldn't bash Ferrer's performance. He was usually cited as the film's only strength. Dees is hunting the Night Flyer for his article and starts to go a little crazy in the process. As he travels from airfield to airfield, he's seeing all the victims, and it culminates in a massive bloodbath towards the end with a shockingly unique design of a well-known monster. If you can, don't look at the poster for the film. It contains a massive spoiler that will detract from some of your enjoyment of the film. Repossessed. I know at least one person who is going to scream at me about this, but I don't care. Repossessed is hilarious. Repossessed is a 1990 horror comedy spoof from director Bob Logan. It's a direct sequel to the original Exorcist. Linda Blair was possessed when she was a child, and after the exorcism, she's grown up to have a normal life. However, the devil is back to reclaim, or yes, repossess her soul, and it's up to Father May-I to save her once again. What he has to do has not been approved by the Vatican. A major problem is a televangelist wants to profit off of this and plans to hold the exorcism live on TV. This is one of my favorite parody movies. I know later we got all the blank movie parodies, epic movie, date movie, superhero movie, some of which have Leslie Nielsen, but Repossessed is better than all of them. Not a frame goes by without something silly or stupid happening. They lampoon the original movie, televangelism, or more specifically Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, and take shots at various horror films. Yes, it's stupid, but stupid makes for the best parodies. Was Airplane or Top Secret intelligent? No, but they were hilarious. Leslie Nielsen is doing his best here. It's like he said about his acting, in so much that he doesn't act, he reacts, and somehow that's funny. I think it's just the way he delivers his reactions. A genuinely funny and loving spoof of one of the scariest movies ever made. That's this week's 5 films. If you're looking for more horror to watch, I did one of those 31 days of Halloween things. That should be plenty to keep you busy. Some big exploring videos coming soon. I'll see you next time.
The devil is always trying to take over your mind. He'll lie to you. He will deceive you. He will totally try to manipulate you. So do not listen to anything that he has to say. He's worse than a studio executive.